Shieldwall Chronicles is a good addition to the genre, the hexagon turn-based tactical strategy game. And that's also its biggest perk because it simply adds to the already insane amount of hours you can spend in those type of addictive top-down strategy games. The basic gameplay of Shieldwall Chronicles is very comparable to your average hexagon turn-based game. Your party is dropped into a battlefield and you basically have to survive, killing all enemies and maybe help out some people in need. I'm assuming you're into these kind of games and want to know what's the difference between Shieldwall Chronicles and any other game out there. Well, sit tight and enjoy the show. Let's start with the story. It's there and it's about Sir Talith, who's desperately looking for his sister who's been captured. It's up to you to track her down, gain help from unlikely allies such as dragons, fight for her freedom, and during all of this slay hordes of enemies. The narrative is told in small written pieces, so don't expect a, let's say, Pillars of Eternity type of game. These dialogues are enjoyable to read, however, and set the scene for the next theater of war. But that's about it. Shieldwall Chronicles is therefore essentially just a big number of missions chained together by a storyline in which you can occasionally make your own decisions. I was offered a choice to escape town by back alleys or the main gate, for example. I escaped town with Sir Talith using the back alleys, where I encountered a bunch of sneaky thugs. Had I taken the main gate getaway route, I would have played a different mission with town guards in heavy armor. I think this is worth mentioning shortly. Graphics are on par with the current standards, I'd say. Never was I blown away by them, but they do look kinda nice. The character models are well done and the enemy models too. Sound effects are just like the graphics. They're functional, they work, but they're not the best in the industry. It's never distracting you from killing enemies though, so you're basically fine there, I would say. It gets a little worse with some of the voice acting. A few lines are quite cringy and they do get repetitive because you're playing with the same characters all the time.
I like it. Something on your mind. Now let me show you what a true warrior is made of.
The music is hit and miss. Most of the time it didn't bother me or impress me, but sometimes, I mean, listen to this.
Here we go! Dula Haman. All right, let's do this.
It's like an 8-year-old kid discovers the symphony strings on the Casio keyboard for the first time. In terms of options, there's some graphical and sound options, but they're not very extensive. Once again though, it does the job, and I think it's fair to say that graphics, sound and music weren't the main concern for this game, which is fine and understandable. You start off by picking 6 heroes. There's 15 different pre-made classes to choose from, ranging from full armed warriors to squishy but powerful mages, and everything in between. Each class has a male and female version. There is, however, one big difference with similar games. Class and character progression is totally linear, with heroes automatically leveling up and also automatically learning new skills. Items you equip don't show up on the character models, which is a shame. You want character customization, creating your own classes and fine-tuning your build? It's simply not going to happen in this game. I can imagine this is an issue for some people, but it wasn't really something I missed, to be honest, because there's still a lot of tweaking that can be done by acquiring different items for your heroes. These either randomly drop as rewards after battle, or you can buy them in the shop. Items give you increased stats, so your warriors get tankier, but also new skills, allowing your wizards to conjure a few skeletons to aid in battle. When I reached level 7 with my party, the game temporarily froze my XP gain. A few encounters later, I was still level 7. This way, you don't become overpowered and unbeatable, like in many other similar games, where the endgame content is a breeze because you're outscaling everyone. Instead, Shieldwall Chronicles takes a different approach. keeping it interesting by always providing a challenge, also at higher levels and missions. I like it. Another great feature in my opinion is the option to swap party members at any point in the game. Experience and gear transfer then to the new chosen class, allowing you to keep experimenting with different setups without having to start a new game. Also, items sell for their base value, allowing you to try them out, and if you don't like them, you can sell them and get all your money back. Shieldwall Chronicles therefore doesn't punish you for trying out new classes and items, which is great. The battles are the core of this game. Everything you do up front, like buying gear, setting up your team and reading the bits and pieces of story, surmount into these battlefields, which grow larger and more complex as you progress in the game. At the start you're fighting in small arenas, while later on you take on entire goblin underground camps with hordes of enemies inside. And the core is well made, with a lot of variation in scenery, enemies and also tactics. You cannot always use the same strategy because of either level design or because there's a certain foe that requires special attention and cannot be killed by conventional means. Shieldwall Chronicles also adds the occasional timer on the mission if it makes sense story-wise, which provides yet another layer to the already intricate combat system. There's a few mechanics worth mentioning, for example the simple and complex modes that Shieldwall Chronicles offer. Simple is what I use the most, and it is that simple. You don't have to min-max action points or get into the nitty-gritty details of your heroes, but you can focus on positioning them well and executing your skills and strategies. It also seems to affect gameplay a little, making it somewhat easier. The counterpart of simple is complex, of course, which does let you tweak every single detail. You have more control over your heroes and you can squeeze every last action point out of them. Attacks now also cost action points, where simple mode doesn't have this. I think complex is therefore somewhat more difficult. I didn't want to min-max all the time, that's why I liked simple better, but hey, to each his own. Another interesting mechanic, albeit not new, is panic. Basically, when enough shit happens around a character, he or she panics. Both your heroes, but also the enemies. Examples of shit happening is, for example, people dying, the arrival of reinforcements, or being hit by a bunch of arrows or magic spells. When someone panics, he or she is unable to use skills. It's not the worst, characters aren't just panicking and running into enemies. I really hate it when games do that, but it's not great either. A new feature is the command system, which I realized was there after playing 15 missions. It's that raven thing, the top left corner. You can select a bunch of buffs which cost command points. These buffs are very strong, usually party-wide, and can last up the entire battle. It can really determine the outcome of an encounter in your favor. Command points are earned by commanding your heroes and NPCs well. That's a little vague because I don't know exactly how it works, but I discovered I got quite some command points by killing a lot of enemies without taking damage, and also by not letting Sir Talith die. That brings me to the AI. The AI in this game is pretty good. The enemies target weaker team members and not always the ones closest to them. They also use a decent amount of spells and techniques. My main issue here is the AI of your own companions, such as Sir Talith. He's useless most of the time, has a mind of his own, and his main purpose in life seems a strong desire to be cannon fodder. So guys, we know by now that they are in this alley. They will be coming from the streets, and what we gotta do is, just hide behind the barrels, buff up our group a little bit, and hopefully make sure that we can ambush them. Take them by surprise, right? So all the green characters, those are your party, those are my characters. I'm moving them all behind the barrels. The guy in blue, that's Sir Talith. And now you will see what happens with the current AI. There we go, end of turn. Now watch Sir Talith. Bam! Destroying everything that I have ever worked for. Right? Gone. Surprise. Totally out of the window. And not only that, he gets himself killed within 10 seconds. He literally dies every time. Keeping him alive usually gets your heroes killed. Other times he just stands there, he doesn't do anything for an entire mission. It's not great and can really use a small upgrade. The battles take between 15 and 30 minutes to finish on normal difficulty and with simple controls. A nice touch here is that the increased difficulty gives you increased rewards and gold, while also padding enemy stats. Your additional challenge is not just a more difficult game, but it comes with its own rewards as well. I think we can be very brief here. If you're looking for another hexagon turn-based game to sink around 25 hours into, this is a great opportunity. It's cheap, it's deep, it offers tons of content with enough variation and progression to keep it interesting. I got this game on Steam sale for $8 and that is an awesome deal. Definitely money well spent. Also at the full price this is still a buy in my opinion. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews and news about cheap Steam games. Also hit that bell button, and if you do have any questions or comments, drop them down below. For now, thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure reviewing this game and I will see you very soon with more content.